How do you feel video games stories have developed?
I don't know. Well, from what I played, I sort of feel like they have got a story. Like in a sense, it just used to be, oh, this is your mission, go do this, and that was the game. But now it's almost like games like a film, to be honest. So you can be so immersed in the story and you can be fanatic about it, and I feel like you could in a lot of older games.
Do you think video games will be the next big story medium?
Oh yeah, well for me they are. I much prefer video games to a film. Or I don't think that overall they'll take over for everyone because not everyone likes to play games. People just like to sit down and just stare at screens, which sometimes is better. Sometimes portrays the story a little bit better, but games are certainly the most immersive way, and they can tell a much bigger story than I think any film ever can. They can flesh out a world as much as probably only books can at the moment.
I don't think it'll be the next big one, but I think it's successful in its own reason. Just because it's different to film and reading books, it's like you do it yourself, you change things where you can't do that in a film or a book.
What would you say makes video games a better story medium, that or different or better than other mediums?
Oh, I think it's that it's you controlling it, so you can go at your own pace, you can look wherever you want. It's like if you're watching a film, you can't go, ooh, I want to look down that corridor. But in a game you can, and then there could be a hidden story down there, some extra lore. And that's what makes it so much better for telling that extra little bits of story that it's there if you want it. If you don't want it, just don't go down
there. Same reason as before, I think it's a lot better than film and books because you kind of make it yourself even though you've got guidelines. Yeah.
What would you say is the most influential video game story from video game?
Adventure story. I think it's easy to say at the moment Last of Us because it's pretty new in it, but I'd say it's a bit of a cliche one. It is a very good story. Personally, I'd probably say Mass Effect, just the fact that it's so expansive. There's a whole different universe, a whole different science, tons of different species set up across 3 games, which carries over between all 3, and it's one massive story that's you can get so in depth into, or you can just see the surface level, and it's just a fantastic story.
Definitely Bioshock, because the first 2 games followed the same concept and they were both as good as the other one, but then the third one had a completely different outlook to it, but then it referenced back to the old ones and made it as an entire collective.
How do you think this will affect film and TV?
I think film and TV might try and catch up by just being a bit more interactive. To be honest, I can't see film and TV taking much from that because they're already well-established industries, and I think playing 2D cinema is as much as cinema needs. You don't need 3D, you don't need moving seats, you don't need smell-o-vision or whatever they'll come out with. So I don't think TV and video need to move forward anymore. So I don't think game can influence anything like that. It's a completely separate method of storytelling.
I don't think they will. I think film might try and simulate the same way of showing a story through game, but I don't think it will be successful.
Do you think this will change film and TV for the better?
Like I said, I don't think that I think any changes that they will adapt will just be gimmicky stuff. So, if anything, it will be extra changes for the worse that go away in 6 months. 1 of 2 films will take on and then no one will care. Games are their medium and movies are their medium, and they should be separate in terms of how they're portrayed.
No. I think every media has its own element, and I don't think that trying to incorporate other ones will help it at all.
Will this have other mediums trying to copy video games delivery?
Oh yeah, they'll definitely try it, but again, that's for a money reason, gimmicky, and personally I don't think there's anything to be gained from it. Some people may say, oh, it would be much better if you can have a choose your own path adventure in a film or something like that, so it's a bit like a game, but again, I don't think it's worth it. Films are like directors and a writer, like how they envisage a story, and a game is not that. A game is choose to do what you want. A film is a set path, and they work great like that, and they have done for years. That's why they're like that.
Will this affect how games are written in the future?
I think, yeah, game stories are developing and they're getting more like a film. As in, you can tell by games now, their cutscenes are as good as any feature-length animation. You could pick some AAA games and you could watch their cutscenes, and it could be just like a film, just as good and just as long. So, yeah, games are keeping up with the story in terms of how good and how fleshed out it is, and in terms of their cinematic richness, it's great, really. And games are pretty much reaching that peak now.
Possibly, but I don't think it needs to change because it's already successful.
But it won't be killed by the film industry, won't be dead by it.
Oh no, the film industry won't be killed by it because not everyone's a gamer. Like, the majority gamers are probably iPhone gamers, and Angry Birds isn't enough to compel your story needs in terms of entertainment. It's like, lots of people will get away with just playing the Naughty Dog games or playing games like Mass Effect or whatever. But I'd say more than half the population in UK and America and so on, they won't give up films. Films will carry on being the top thing, but games is just such a massive market that it'll make a dent, but not everyone will adopt.
No, definitely not, because a lot of film watchers don't play any games, and then the other way around too. So I think each one has its own fans.
Why do you think game films don't work?
It's because they don't treat it as a film, as in just a film. They treat it as, okay, this franchise makes money, let's try and capture that in a video, as a recording on a film with actors and so on. And you just can't do what you can in the game, because something that works in a game doesn't work in a film, and vice versa. You can't capture like the intense magic of, I don't know, just a shootout experience that you'd have in a game that's really tough, when in a film it could just look a bit dull and boring. You can't capture stealth, for example, nowhere near as you can in a film as in a game, and I think that's its failure. It tries to do exactly what the game does as a film, where it'd be better to say, this is a rough universe, let's write a completely different story and treat it as a film and not a game adaptation. And I think that's where you'd come off. I think perhaps even taking stuff like World War Z, how going from a book to a film, they took a bit of the universe and just made a completely different film of it, rather than trying to exactly copy the book, which I think it's whether people agree with the words in that film, I think it's a good attitude to take for how to do an adaptation.